Oh, I know. I look for where's Ohio State, where are they, who they playing. It's not. Watching the games, I think they did. They did get kind of bogus. Yeah. I think they're efficient. Just not explosive. You're gonna make it. I actually. Almost that's where you start. Making sure that
Call him whenever he wants. He sets the next. Think about the next one. I'll let you know. Yeah, but I definitely get you on.
I said that? Yes, you will.
Listen, post game on more on it. December 5th.
Don't let Indiana.
Most pitchers had I might rent that one once and I've get to the question.
Coming in clutch. There we go. Perfect. Yep. Mic check. 1, 2. Awesome. All right. Teamwork. Love it. Fantastic. What?
Two or three coaches. Oh, was that what he was saying? Like, what are you going to do? Like, December, you're just going to 3 days of doing nothing. He was talking about we shouldn't change it because 2 or 3 coaches still say it's not. No. But then the other
Try to get in. Nobody tries to. I'll try to get. Hopefully it works. Yeah.
You got straightened out. All right. You're on the same place. We have 45. You jump on the hands all day. You're driving.
I don't know where that idea
That game is an education.
I'm sure.
I mean, just
Moments.
yeah, you want to go. Yeah, you want to see the picture?
No. You taught him how to do Skype
All right, guys. As you know, it's going to be a quick one, so we'll start the front row with Dave Biddle. Dave, lead us off.
Coach, when you're carving somebody up in the passing game, how do you balance that, knowing we can pass all over them, knowing we're going to need to run the ball later in the year? How do you balance that as a play caller?
Well, I think we look at what the opponent is, what the matchup is, what we see for tendencies, and then take what they're given, and based on the play call, there's design runs, there's design passes, and there's decisions that are made post snap based on what the defense is giving us. So those are all things that put stress on defenses, and we'll put the game plan together each week based on what the opponent does well, what we do well, and then kind of go from there. But the big question is, do you have the ability to do all of the things you want to do? And obviously running and passing are the top two, so we're going to be able to do both of them.
Ryan, I have a
very specific question about Tegra. Getting to know him a little bit. I don't know how many players you coached who were in Congo, who came to this country without knowing English. Fascinating character study just in his career here. What I want to know is a little bit about his highs and lows here, and that journey that he's been on to become a starter here. Didn't start great for him. He admits that. Why do you think he's been able to progress to the point that he's been able to succeed, learning the sport, developing who he is physically, and performing that way?
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of coaching a few players from Congo, and very proud family that Tegra comes from, and very proud of their heritage and their culture. And you can see that the minute we walked in the home to do a recruiting visit, and he has a great support system at home, and I think that plays into his success. He understands what he wants to do with the game of football. I remember being in his recruiting visit, and he'd have the games kind of running on loop at the house where he'd be watching the Ohio State games, and so he liked football. I don't think football was a game that his family grew up with, and he's really done a good job since he's been here of growing each week, getting better. He certainly has the size and has the ability, and each year his football IQ is getting better and better, understanding the game. And so, like you said, everybody has their own journey along the way, and I think that his journey has been a story of somebody who each week is taking what he gets on the field, learning and growing and getting back to work. And he's a guy who shows up every day ready to work. I think the guys appreciate that part of him, and I still think the best football's ahead of him.
Okay, Julian, I know you don't come into the season with predetermined expectations, but would you ever imagine you'd be sitting here the second off week and this is where he would be? And has that had to change the offensive game plan a little bit to let him do more halfway through the season?
I try not to have too many expectations. You're just not too sure how things are going to shake. I've learned that you try to plan the best you can, but you really just want to focus on one game at a time because you just don't know what is really going to happen. Weeks down the road, you try to predict some things, but I think each week he's grown more and more. He's built confidence, and I think his teammates believe in him now. And you can see he probably had his best game to date, at Wisconsin. So now he's got to grow from that, continue to build. So we're just halfway through the season, so we got a lot of football left. But the number one thing we got to do is continue to take care of the football, lead the team, command the game. We're now getting it into the stretch run of the season, and then obviously in the playoff football. So all of these games, all these decisions, everything we're doing is going to be at just ramped up at a higher level. So it's good to see him get some of these games under his belt as we make this run.
PFF grades are not gospel or value really to you of any kind, but Tegra seems like he's been in a rough patch the last couple of weeks, and Josh has had those opportunities. How much consideration is there with the off date and ahead of Penn State to put Josh in there?
Yeah, we're looking at everything. We're looking at the stats, not only just coming off the last game, but of the first half of the season, and figure out, who and what gives us the best chance to win. So all things that we're evaluating. Most of the coaches were on the road yesterday, went through the film this morning and graded everything. Our champions today at 2:30 to go through the champions, give the guys the feedback on this game, but also on the first half of the season, the things they've done well, but the things they need to improve on. And everybody's going to get that type of feedback, including Tegra. And we need to improve in those areas. That everybody has to work on. But we're going to evaluate everything and make sure we're doing what's right by the team.
Kind of building off that running back, it seems like there's more guys getting into the mix there, and I know there's a balance of how many guys you play there. Rose wants to play a lot of guys, but is this maybe the perfect time to maybe set a strict hierarchy of who should be getting what in the game, who should be involved, who should be involved, and is that part of the conversation that you guys want to have?
I think most of the guys are so young that I still don't think we're there yet. I still think that each game they play, they're learning more and more themselves on film, they're growing. And so they still got to continue to get better. There's a lot to be learned about all of them. And when you watch them play in the games, you get more and more feedback, and that's it. So it's their job to take the feedback from the coaches and try to get better. But I've said before, we're going to need them all. I think they all bring different things to the table. But I don't think we're in a position where right now, we're going to make, like you said, a hierarchy. I think they all need to learn how to play in different areas and get better, and keep going from there. I don't think we're there right now, as much as I'd like to say we are. But we'll take this bye week to continue to allow them to get better and keep evaluating it on a week-to-week basis, and then you don't know. I mean, maybe some guys start getting hot. That happens sometimes. They get in a rhythm of the game. There really weren't as many carries this past week because we're a little bit more in the RPO world. So some of the runs that were called ended up being throws, so that plays into it. But you also saw early in the season, I think both James and CJ had over 10 carries in the first game. So each game is a little bit different, and we'll keep evaluating it. But it was certainly a bright spot to see Isaiah with some of the runs that he made. I thought he made guys miss and ran hard.
More generally about the run game, you said after the game that you obviously had to study it. Where is the run game? I'm sure it's not where you want it to be. What have you been able to diagnose about what the issues are and how confident are you?
Yeah, I don't think it's about fixing it as much as there was some breakdowns in terms of technique in the game. I won't really get into pointing fingers, but we got to be more consistent in terms of identifying who we're going to and then using the technique to block them. There was some really good runs in the game, but then there was a stretch there in the third quarter where it was like 4 runs that went for nothing. And on a couple of them we didn't identify right, but for the most part it was technique. And we abandoned our technique. That's really what it came down to. I don't think that there was an issue in terms of the running backs not reading the right hole. I think we always want to see the running backs make 4 yards for the team and then make some guys miss down the road and run physical and through contact. Some of that did happen in the game when you watch the film, to be fair. And we want to see it every play. But, what we can have is have guys running free in the backfield. And we had that a couple times in the game. And that wasn't just one guy, but the guys will get the feedback on their grades and figure out where they need to get better and get the feedback today. But to me, it was more of a technique issue. And maybe it was a lack of focus in that moment. But either way, it's unacceptable.
Brian, 2 months into the season, assessing where the defense is and the way Matt Patricia's been able to impact him, what do you see as the biggest thing that he's done to sort of elevate the team culture, just coordinating people that know how that would be losing starters? Just what do you see as, I guess, his biggest impact to him?
I think it's well documented when we went about trying to find a new defensive coordinator and work with Tim Walton and the staff. We wanted to make sure we had the right guy that fit the room because, when we talk about, Tim and Matt Carreri and James and Larry, you're talking about one of the best, in my opinion, the best defensive staff in the country. And we didn't want to just bring in somebody that was going to bring in their own guys. So that was the first thing. So I think chemistry is the first answer to your question. I think the chemistry with the coaches and the chemistry with the players has been excellent. I think the next thing is we wanted to find somebody who could use multiple fronts and multiple defenses to put our guys in a situation to be successful. We're not the same group of guys we were last year. As you know, we lost a lot of guys. We had to replace them. And I think Matt's background of using multiple fronts and multiple defenses to put guys in situations to be successful is probably the next thing that he's done well. And then I think the ability of our players to buy into the system and also build the guys around them. So what I mean by that is, although we lost a lot of guys like Caleb Davison, Sonny, Harvell, Curry, these guys who have played a lot of football, KJ, they were able to take some of the new stuff and communicate it to the guys around them to build confidence so that they can go put it on the field for some guys that hadn't played a lot of football. So I think all of those combined is why you're seeing the success we've had in the first half of the season. But the first half of the season is just prep for the rest of the run. And so we all got to look back on the first half of the season here, figure out the things that we've done well, and figure out, where we may have tendencies. We always said that, good offense and defenses have tendencies, but we got to make sure we're ahead of it and that we're not getting nailed down. So all things we're working on this week.
I know that it was on accident after the game, but what you saw that Carnell could do in the slot, and then what you saw from Quincy making a catch, like a couple catches like he did, does that give you a little bit more question about maybe what you could do with a freshman who's starting to maybe come along a little bit here late this freshman year?
Yeah, I thought he handled that well, and the pivot he caught was a really nice route. Then he caught and ran it. I think it turned into an explosive play. We're much more explosive on offense. I think we had double digits explosive plays, and I think that was one of them. But it was good to see him. That was really his first big action in the conference game, and I don't think he flinched. I thought he handled it well and did a good job and graded out pretty well. So that's exciting. And I think Carnell and Jeremiah need some of that as the season goes on. It's a long season, and they need that. It's important. The team needs it. So he and Milan, and hopefully we're going to get Bryce Rogers back this week. These guys can help because we need them.
Talk about how bye practices sometimes are harder than normal because they want to stay sharp, but that was pre-playoff era. I mean, how do you manage guys over the next week or 2 weeks?
Yeah, everyone's a little bit different. There's guys who have played a whole bunch of football who need maintenance. There's some young guys that need a whole bunch of football and a whole bunch of reps. So we'll use the format we've used in the past for the bye week, but try to give everybody what they need. Some guys need to heal. Some guys need reps. Some guys need more fundamental work. Everybody's a little bit different, but I think it's good, for us on Sunday and on Monday to get away. Don't think about football for a little while. Come back, regroup, put Saturday's game to bed, and then we have some really good practices this week on what we need to get done. So we know during the bye week is a good opportunity to take a step back. We always try to stay focused on the week at hand. This is a good time to take a step back and realize that we need to get certain things fixed, address some things, and then take a picture at the run that we're about to make and what we need to get done during the run, because once Sunday hits, it's right on to Penn State. All right, guys, thanks.